Hi everybody and welcome to episode 3 of Lara Reads. And as I said on my Instagram story a few days ago, episode 3 is going to feature this amazing, epic masterpiece, Untamed by Glennon Doyle. Now, I knew that this was going to feature on Lara Reads. So as I was going through, I was really diligent and I made a note of the pages that I really liked. And I've just spent the last 45 minutes going through those notes and trying to whittle it down from 60 pages that I highlighted, which is basically 20% of the book. So I have managed to whittle it down. And so here goes. I have learned that if I want to rise, I have to sink first. I have to search for and depend upon the voice of inner wisdom instead of voices of outer approval. This saves me from living someone else's life. It also saves me a hell of a lot of time and energy. I just do the next thing the knowing guides me toward, one thing at a time. The best part is this: the knowing is beyond and beneath language, so I have no language to use to translate it to anyone. Since it doesn't use words to explain itself to me, I quit using words to explain myself to the world. This is the most revolutionary thing a woman can do. The next precise thing, one thing at a time, without asking permission or offering explanation. This way of life is thrilling. I understand now that no one else in the world knows what I should do. The experts don't know, the ministers, the therapists, the magazines, the authors, my parents, my friends, they don't know. Not even the folks who love me the most. Because no one has ever lived or will ever live this life I am attempting to live, with my gifts and challenges, and past and people. Every life is an unprecedented experiment. This life is mine alone. So I've stopped asking people for directions to places they've never been. There is no map. We are all pioneers. I've got this second key tattooed on my wrist. Be still. It's my daily reminder that if I'm willing to sit in the stillness with myself, I always know what to do. That the answers are never out there. They are as close as my breath and as steady as my heartbeat. All I have to do is stop flailing, sink below the surface, and feel for the nudge and the gold. Then I have to trust it, no matter how illogical or scary the next right thing seems. Because the more consistently, bravely, and precisely I follow the inner knowing, the more precise and beautiful my entire life, outer life, becomes. The more I live by my own knowing, the more my life becomes my own, and the less afraid I become. I trust that the knowing will go with me wherever I go, nudging me toward the next thing, one thing at a time, guiding me all the way home. Oh, Glennon, that could have been me writing that. This is about her daughter Tish and how Tish decided that she wasn't going to get her ears pierced. And the piercer said to her, "Oh, come on, you can do it. Be brave. Look how brave your little sister was." So this is what Glennon says. I don't think brave means what we've been saying it means. We tell our children that brave means feeling afraid and doing it anyway. But is this the definition we want them to carry as they grow older? When she is 17, headed out in a car driven by her teenage buddy, saying she's going to the movies but actually going to that kegger down the street, imagine calling to her, "Bye babe, be brave tonight." What I mean by that is, if you're in a scary situation and you feel afraid to do what your friends are encouraging you to do, I want you to ignore that fear and do it anyway. Just plow right through that gut instinct of yours. No, that is not the understanding of brave I want my children to have. I do not want my children to become people who abandon themselves to please the crowd. Brave does not mean feeling afraid and doing it anyway. Brave means living from the inside out. Brave means in every uncertain moment, turning inward, feeling for the knowing and speaking it out loud. Since the knowing is specific, personal, and ever-changing, so is brave. Whether you are brave or not cannot be judged by people on the outside. Sometimes being brave requires letting the crowd think you're a coward. Sometimes being brave means letting everyone down but yourself. Amma's brave is often loud and go for it. Tish's brave is often quiet and wait for it. They are both brave girls because each is true to herself. They are not divided between what they feel and know on the inside and what they say and do on the outside. Their selves are integrated. They have integrity. Tish showed tremendous bravery that day because keeping her integrity required her to resist the pressure of the crowd. She trusted her own voice more than she trusted the voices of others. Brave is not asking the crowd, "What is brave?" Brave is deciding for oneself. It's important to take a good look at yourself every once in a while. Not the way you look at yourself while you're getting dressed or putting on makeup. Not the way you look at yourself, your thighs or sunspots or chin hairs. Not that way. I mean, you need to look dead into your eyes at your real self. You need to make sure there are no lies there. You need to make sure the eyes in the mirror are the eyes of a woman you respect. As I looked deep in my own eyes, the woman in the mirror and I had a reckoning. I asked myself, is the decision to continue abandoning yourself really what your children need from you? Mothers have martyred themselves in their children's names since the beginning of time. We have lived as if she who disappears the most loves the most. We have been conditioned to prove our love by slowly ceasing to exist. What a terrible burden for children to bear, to know that they are the reason their mother stopped living. What a terrible burden for our daughters to bear, to know that if they choose to become mothers, this will be their fate too. Because if we show them that being a martyr is the highest form of love, that is what they will become. They will feel obligated to love as well as their mothers loved, after all. They will believe they have permission to live only as fully as their mothers allowed themselves to live. If we keep passing down the legacy of martyrdom to our daughters, with whom does it end? Which woman ever gets to live? And when does the death sentence begin? At the wedding altar? In the delivery room? Whose delivery room? Our children's or our own? When we call martyrdom love, we teach our children that when love begins, life ends. That is why Jung suggested, there is no greater burden on a child than the unlived life of a parent. What if love is not the process of disappearing for the beloved, but of emerging for the beloved? What if a mother's responsibility is teaching her children that love does not lock the lover away, but frees her? What if a responsible mother is not one who shows her children how to slowly die, but how to stay wildly alive until the day she dies? What if the call of motherhood is not to be a martyr, but to be a model? Right there on the floor, I looked deep into my own eyes. I let the knowing rise and stay. My children do not need me to save them. My children need to watch me save myself. Grief is a cocoon from which we emerge new. Last year, Liz's beloved partner became very sick and started dying. I was far away, so each day I would send her messages that said, "I am sitting outside your door." One day, my mum called and asked, "How is Liz?" I thought for a moment about how to answer. I realized I couldn't because she'd asked me the wrong question. I said, "Mama, I think the question is not how is Liz? The question is who is Liz? Who will she be when she emerges from this grief?" Grief shatters. If you let yourself shatter and then you put yourself back together piece by piece, you wake up one day and realize that you have been completely reassembled. You are whole again and strong, but you are suddenly a new shape, a new size. The change that happens to people who really sit in their pain, whether it's a sliver of envy lasting an hour or a canyon of grief lasting decades, it's revolutionary. When that kind of transformation happens, it becomes impossible to fit into your old conversations or relationships or patterns or thoughts or life anymore. You are like a snake trying to fit back into old dead skin, or a butterfly trying to crawl back into its cocoon. You look around and see everything freshly with the new eyes you have earned but for yourself. There is no going back. Perhaps the only thing that makes grief any easier is to surrender yourself completely to it, to resist trying to hold on to a single part of ourselves that existed before the doorbell rang. Sometimes to live again, we have to let ourselves die completely. We have to let ourselves become completely, utterly new. When grief rings, surrender. There is nothing else to do. The delivery is utter transformation. I'm going to end with this. The truth of my 30s was, stay on your mat, Glennon. The staying is making you. The truth of my 40s is, I'm made. I will not stay, not ever again, in a room or conversation or relationship or institution that requires me to abandon myself. Untamed is a masterpiece. It changes, it transforms you on a cellular level. Everyone should read it.